It's your girl with T checking in. I am not 100% sure if this baby is working. I've got a new mic set, and so I'm about to get a little bit of professionals. But yeah, hope you enjoy. I am officially starting a series to share my travels. I spent the whole of 2023 just traveling across a little bit of Europe, a little Asia Pacific. I'll say Asia Pacific. So I decided to record a video just to share a little bit more about my travels. So in 2023, I bit the bucket and decided to travel long term. So I spent 2023 traveling around the APAC region, which is I think it's the Asia Pacific region, and a little bit around Europe and a little bit around, well, North America. And so one of the reasons I decided to start this channel and share my travels is because I wouldn't say I started off as like a strict backpacker. Now I'm a little bit more mid-range backpacker type. But one of the things that I noticed as I traveled was that I hardly saw people that looked like me. And when I researched information, I found varying levels of interesting information, and I guess I wanted to be able to also put my 2 cents into the mix for anyone else that is researching or planning a trip similar to mine, or just give hints and tips, my experiences traveling across the world. So I thought I would share this series, just high level summary around my travels in 2023, in the hope that it sparks some conversations, gives you a few ideas on how to plan your own travels if you ever desire to do so. So I have decided to split this into a 5-part series where I will be sharing different aspects of travel. So this particular video, the high level question is, why did I decide to travel? We'll be touching on my planning and motivations, my savings, and the route and reroute journey. As you can imagine, this was 12 months worth of travel. I started off in January, and I finished off right at the beginning of December. And yeah, it was a whirlwind. I would love to sit here and say that I woke up and just decided to travel, but the way life is set up, the way the economy is set up, this is not quite the case. So we'll start off with a high-level backstory. I am originally from Zimbabwe. So I lived in Zimbabwe until I finished my O levels, so I was about 16, and then I moved to the UK where I finished my education and started working. In 2017, I moved to Australia, but since high school, I always had a deep desire to travel. I had taken a few trips around Europe to South Africa, and just my exploration and interaction with the UK, initially as a visitor and then eventually living there, and hooked on people's stories. I am very much interested in different cultures, different food, more if my body permitted me to, but trying to keep a balance between health and the enjoyment of food. But living in the UK, one of the things I picked up on is like the UK is a massive metropolitan. You meet people from different parts of the world. And because of that as well, you have exposure to different foods, different cultures. And I always loved hearing about people's stories. I feel like the seed of long-term travel kind of came in when I moved to the UK and I was in high school, and I started seeing a lot more people talking about their travels across different parts of the world, and I thought, wow, this is interesting. And anyone who has been in my position will tell you I had moved from Zimbabwe and moved to the UK. In the area where I lived, I was one of the 3 Black kids in my school. And I think one of the things that the teachers did was not draw out significant differences between me and the other kids. Obviously, there were some teachers who failed, but generally, even like my ability to make friends and all that kind of stuff, I guess in my mind at the time, I'm just like any of the other kids. And so when my friends shared their aspirations in terms of going to school, in terms of travel, in terms of careers, I just thought I could put mine in there, just like everybody else, right? And one of my good girlfriends uh, decided that she was not going to go to school immediately because she wanted to take some time off and travel. I was like, we can do this. And then she shared her plan, and I was automatically like, if she can do it, I can do it. So unfortunately, because of several reasons, not least being the fact that what I didn't realize, what I didn't fully appreciate at the time, is my parents were like, nope, you're going to school. And it's like, we don't do that. People go to school. Why do you want to go traveling? What's the point? What do you want to learn from it? And I guess at the time I didn't appreciate, understand. And I didn't have a fully fledged answer. So naturally, I just went to school. And then when I got to university, I made friends with this Kenyan babe, one of my closest friends now, who had actually, so this was in my second year of uni, but she had taken time off, taken a year out and gone to South America traveling. And oh my goodness, like all the people that went away had like these riveting stories. And yeah, I just wanted in. And by this time I was reading lots of travel blogs. YouTube was not a big thing at the time, but like, yeah, any information about people traveling, about different cultures. So I was reading books from people from different places. I was sucked in. Anyway, after university, I thought I would take this trip finally because I finished school, right? And I planned out a route. I was going to travel for about 6 weeks, go to different places in Europe. I was so excited, and my mom said, no. After people finish school, they do the responsible thing and they go to work. And so again, I took on a job and I worked. Did I enjoy this job? Yes, but I think what I did was I just kind of tried to suppress this desire to travel. Anyway, I finished my training contract. I've got another job. I have an opportunity at another job. And again, I realized I am signing into another job and I'm not going to be able to travel. So what I did, a bit risky in hindsight, but I think this desire was so pressed in, I thought I need to. So I extended my notice period and I went traveling for 6 weeks. And it was phenomenal. So because it was a bit of a short notice in terms of getting people on board, I decided to go on my own. So I applied for my visa and I took a one-way ticket to Thailand. Guys, because everyone said that Thailand is the easiest place to start solo backpacking. And also, Thailand sounds kind of awesome, right? And so I did. I'm on the plane, half excited, half crapping myself because what have I just done? I don't know anyone in the country. I don't know how to speak the language. And what am I going to do when I get there? Obviously, I had a list of things that I wanted to do, but yeah, so I landed in Bangkok and I still remember the first day. I had like just a massive, like walking out of the airport, I had a massive whiff. It's like hot and humid and it just engulfs you. I'm like, where am I? I jump into the taxi that was supposed to take me to the hotel that I'd booked for one night because that's what all the backpackers advise. Just book yourself in for 1 or 2 nights just to acclimatize and then you'll find accommodation when you get there. Anyway, I did that and guys, I jump into the taxi. This guy hardly speaks English. His dashboard is full of like those Buddha gods. Note, I'm from Zimbabwe. Generally very conservative Christian upbringing. And if you've grown up in that environment, any other statue or forms of gods are evil. And so I was praying, guys. I was really praying because I'm like, where am I? What am I going? What is happening here? And I think that was my first step at opening myself up to learning about different cultures and different religions. Needless to say, I had such a brilliant time. I'm a massive introvert, or at least I think I am an introvert who sometimes exhibits as an extrovert. Maybe I'm an ambivert. I like my personal time, but I also love hanging out with people. But in order to get over my fears, I had to make some rules to help me engage with people. I'm the kind of person who's absolutely fine just being on my own. I can delve into a book, I can go out, I can enjoy myself on my own, but like I needed to meet people or else what was the point of me being in this foreign land? I wouldn't be able to absorb and take it in as much if I was just doing it on my own. So one of the rules I had, which is a bit kooky, but it worked for me, was I don't have dinner on my own. Sometimes it was hard because I was in Thailand for like, I think 3 or 4 weeks. And I couldn't have dinner on my own. So every night I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling a little bit, and I have to find someone to have dinner with. And it was interesting. I found myself third wheeling with some couples. I found myself sitting on the side of the road. I found myself just speaking to other solo travelers. I found myself with like some locals in random eateries. And I think it was a doorway into realizing that we actually have the power to change our reality, in the sense that I'm in a position where I'm feeling scared about engaging with new people. I just told myself that I can't have dinner alone. And all of a sudden, all these people now become potential dinner mates. And so, yeah, that was interesting. And then I met Guy from Canada when I was flying out to Chiang Mai. And this time when I was flying out to Chiang Mai, I think it must have been after about a week and a half or so. And I'd gained quite a bit of confidence in Bangkok. So I hadn't actually booked accommodation. The plan was to find accommodation. Anyway, this guy I met on the flight is telling me he's been traveling around Asia for about 6 or 7 months. He's telling me of his experiences. He's giving me hints and tips of places to go and things to do. I'm like, people are out here living their lives. He was actually some sales director in a company in Canada. And he was just taking a break just after he finished his MBA and decided it was now or never. And I'm like, wow. Anyway, we kept in touch. We met up for like breakfast and a few dinners while we were in Chiang Mai. Chiang Mai was incredible. Anyway, after this whole trip, I think I was definitely more confident in myself because I had gone to this country where like Thai people are so friendly. Um, Depending on where you are, if you're in the really touristy places, you'll find people that speak English. If you are in the less touristy places, it gets a little bit more tricky. And one of my friends had hooked me up with her friend who was living in a village in Thailand. So I had to get local bus transport to go to this village. And being able to conquer that and eat and survive. And anyway, we'll save the story about that trip to the village for a different day because, yeah, that was a little bit, it was a little bit crazy. But being able to do all of that just gave me a taster of the possible adventures that could happen. Nothing was really planned in advance. Okay, nothing was set in stone in advance. And I had the flexibility. I learned how to ride a motorbike again, a story for another time. I learned how to navigate my way around a different country with a different language. And I guess one could say that was, I'd say the seed had already been sown, but that was the beginning of the germination of that dream to travel solo. Decided I was going to do this as well. Like I was going to do this for longer and more extensively because I just like that freedom, that liberation, that openness that Thailand had given me the opportunity to have. And I think to this very day, Thailand has like a really special place in my heart. It's almost like, you know, that where they say like you never forget your first love. I think it has a very, very special place in my heart just because it was my first solo trip. It was 2015. And the plan for this solo trip started. It built more legs. Remember, I had a plan for a 6-week trip beforehand after high school. Then I had another one after university, and now it's 2015, and I'm like, okay, guys, this has to happen. Anyway, 2 years later, I lost my job, and I had the opportunity to start again. I managed to get a job in New Zealand, and again, I can negotiate when I start. So I took a 6-month sabbatical, and I took advantage of that time again to just gallivant and travel. So on this trip, I went back to Asia for a bit. I went to Africa, and I traveled around Europe quite a bit and hit a few new countries. Again, that feeling of freedom, exhilaration, learning so many new things, learning about different cultures. I'm like, this is the life I want to live. But I'm going to Australia, and again, this is a new going to New Zealand. I wanted to go to Australia, but I ended up in New Zealand. Again, story for another day. But this was a new territory I get to live in and experience and learn about. And I'm just like, I'm really excited. So took in all my experiences within those 6 months, ate lots, gained weight, all the stuff that comes with it, because I'm like, when else will I get this opportunity? Anyhow, I work in New Zealand, and I think I was now settled in a steady place. Then COVID came along, and COVID's like, what do you really want? Like the world at the time, it felt like the world had just closed up. Note, while I was living in New Zealand, New Zealand had some of the strictest COVID rules. The borders were closed. People couldn't come in. It was, well, people who were not citizens or permanent residents, You could easily get out, but the cost of tickets was like sky high. And I think I felt for the first time, I think it was the first time like I fully felt trapped because I was so used to traveling in I would go either to Zimbabwe or to the UK every year. And this time the borders were closed and I didn't know when I was going to see my family next. And so with that, I had to go through another process of what do I really want for myself? And I just missed the ability to travel and see my family whenever I wanted. I desired that flexibility. I desired that freedom. Luckily, my bosses were so gracious and they were like, yo, we understand how you're feeling. You've been away. And I think at this time it had been about a year and a half into COVID, and I hadn't been home or anything. And I'd expressed to them that, like, I really miss my family. And so I was able to get a sabbatical and go back to the UK and spent some time with family there. Then I went to Zimbabwe, spent the longest time I had spent since I left Zimbabwe the first time with family and friends. And that was really good. I was able to be there um, to meet some needs that needed to be tended to, if that makes sense. But like, yeah. And then my friend was in Brazil. And this is again one of I feel like I've got some of the most inspirational badass friends on the planet. Anyway, she's like, yo, girl, I'm in Brazil. I hear from the grapevine that you are out and about, have a bit of freedom. Come out and spend a month with me in South America because why not? And I'm like, I've always wanted to go to South America, but again, you hear all these horror stories. I like during COVID, it seemed like everyone online was moving to Mexico, right? When I say everyone, like a lot of the stuff that I watched at the time, as you can tell, I'm a little bit obsessed with travel. So I watch a lot of travel content and I read a lot of travel related books. And blogs and all sorts. So a lot of people were like just going to Mexico, and I'm like, I need to be in Mexico. I need to be in Mexico. I need to be in Mexico. Anyway, I went and I joined her in Brazil. Her home base at the time was in Colombia. We went to Colombia, had a few dramas, nothing too extreme, but like, yeah, I spent a beautiful 2.5 to 3 weeks in Mexico as well during that time, and again, it was just I was reminded how much I love travel. I was reminded why I love travel, like, and I think at that point I had to make a decision as I was working back, because after South America I went back to the UK. I worked for a bit, and in that time I had to make a decision. Do I go back to New Zealand to work, or do I finally take the opportunity to do this long-term travel? Because it's something that I had spoken about, I had desired for a long time. I had iterations and iterations of routes and plans and all that kind of stuff. I'm not getting any younger, and so I think this was the point where I decided, if I don't do it now, I will never do it, because with the way my career was going, it was going up and up and up, and responsibilities were getting higher. The money was getting higher, and therefore, like, I'm just like every other human being. Like, I just felt that I would find it harder to make the decision to leave work to go traveling the later I left it off, and also my responsibilities will increase because adulting. So yeah, I took the leap and decided that I was going to go traveling long term. So yeah, that was how that worked. And that was my motivation and how I got to the decision of taking this time. So the plan initially was to take about 9 months traveling. And as I said at the beginning, I was traveling for 12 months across the world. So yeah, The roots and the reroutes will come out in more detail as we proceed with the story. But the plan was I was going to go to Dubai to start my trip. No, go to India to start my trip off because I wanted to be spiritually centered and pray and just be in like that zone to start my trip off, and then also get physically fit. So I signed up to a yoga retreat, and then I was going to travel around Southeast Asia. Then after I finished Southeast Asia, I was going to go visit my cousin in Japan, Asia, go visit my cousin in Canada over the summer, and then go see my family in Zimbabwe, and then travel a bit around Africa before going back to New Zealand, Australia for work. Needless to say, that's not what happened. I ended up, like I said at the beginning, spending most of my time in Asia. Yeah, the plan didn't quite go as I had planned it. There were so many iterations along the way, and I will talk about some of those details as I go along. Like I said, the point of these videos is just to give you a high-level view of my trip, and just in case someone else is planning a trip of their own, these are my experiences, and just you can take tips, whatever is helpful for you. I guess the biggest lesson or the biggest taking from this video is just, if you want something a lot, and if you can't get rid of that feeling of I need to do this, I highly recommend that you don't just ignore it. The timing might not be great, but I think sometimes you need to give yourself permission in order to take those radical steps. My biggest worries and concerns about taking this trip was, first of all, this was going to have to be a solo endeavor. Although I had done solo trips before, I wasn't sure how I would cope. Second of all, I wasn't sure how this would pan out from a work perspective. I'm still not sure how it's going to pan out from a work perspective. But at the same time, because I wanted it so bad, I think I just felt like I needed to take the leap. I love the work that I do. I really want to be able to get back into it at some point. However, this is something that I had to do for myself. And as I have traveled, one of the things I noticed, which is one of the reasons I decided to start a YouTube channel, is there weren't a lot of people that looked like me, that were coming from my background, and just want to give a bit of a face to that person to say, it is a possibility. As you can imagine, it was a radical step. I didn't have my family's support. I didn't have a friend's support. But I just had a deep fire that was burning. It was like really grating at me, and I just had to take the leap. Was this the best decision I ever made? I don't know. But was it the right decision for me at the time? I truly believe so, because yeah, it was an incredible journey. And yeah, I hope you come back to the next episode where I tell you, I give you a summary of the trip in terms of the countries I visited, and yeah, just a few takings from those places. So in 2023, I visited 20 countries, which I know is a lot, but yeah, I will tell you the reason for going to each of the countries and what happened, just a high level summary of my sentiments, my feelings about that country. And I hope you stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to hear more. Turn on the notification bell so that you get the next video. And yeah, feel free to ask me any questions, which I will try and answer before the end of the series. Take care.